Hello everyone, welcome back to When the Night Comes. We have lied to General Wilhelm. Basically saying, Wilhelm? General Harry. We've lied to Harry. He thinks we're gonna take a thing. We're not gonna take a thing, we're gonna ambush him instead. It's gonna be great. This plan's gonna work, and then we're gonna go have lovely fun times with Omen, who waits for me longingly. Anywho, it's dusk in Lunaris. My feet are sore, my eyes tired, and all I can think about is how much I can't wait for all of this to be over. In school, they trained us to kill monsters, and the irony of my current predicament does not escape me. Despite countless hours of training and study, nothing could ever have prepared me to fight my greatest enemy yet, Lieutenant General of Escria. Harry is the true culprit. It's still hard to grasp that he's the one responsible for the gruesome murders that brought me here. As I sink further into the town, the feeling of dread that's been a constant pain in the pit of my stomach since I arrived strangely seems to dissipate. I wander with purpose through the narrow streets, hyper-focused on the task in hand. I'm ready to ensure that this place that I've come to call my home is once again safe and in the hands of those that truly care for it. The only thing that distracts me from such thoughts is the way the sky begins to turn from purple to inky infinite black. I turn a corner, and I've met with a familiar sight of people moving to get inside as darkness overtakes the town. The sound of doors slamming and locking echoes off the crooked stonework. Curtains are drawn, windows closed, and then darkness. Although the stars are shining brightly at a glance, and the crescent moon hangs low, neither offer much light. Excuse me. I think back at the first night I arrived and how much my life has changed since. A lump forms in my throat as I realize that I've been gifted what I haven't known since childhood, a home, a family to call my own. So many things have been taken from me, from all of us. I straighten my shoulders, taking a deep breath. No more. Then I think of Omen, of the man who, though foreign to this world, has taught me so much about it and about myself. Determination licks through my bones and I pick up my pace, boots heavy and loud against the cobblestone. The instincts that have been ingrained in me since my initiation into the order kicks in, and I know that I will win this fight. After all, I haven't lost one yet. Oh, that sounds like bad foreshadowing if I ever heard anything. I can feel eyes upon me, watching, waiting. Though they are kind eyes, the watchful gaze of my friends and allies, tucked safely away in the thick forest. No matter how much I insisted I'd be fine alone, the stubborn bastards wouldn't take no for an answer. So I stand and I wait. I think back to my brief time with James, and all I can hope is I can make him proud tonight. Then footsteps, a rhythmic crunch, crunch, crunch. And there he stands, bathed in darkness, his sharp gauntlet resting proudly atop the pommel of his sword. He smiles. Are you ready? I step closer to him and I eye his jacket, knowing that the vial rests inside. I am. He makes a show of it, his smile smug, like a proud parent, and as he retrieves it, he holds it high, and my stomach churns again at the sight of it, knowing that this is the thing that murdered my colleagues. That, by proxy, also murdered James. Harry sighs, gazing at me fondly as he takes my hand in my own, laying the delicate glass in my palm and closing my fingers around
A
me.
toast, then, to new beginnings.
He steps away, his hand once again coming to rest upon his sword. He watches me carefully as I pry the cork free. And I pour the contents into the ground.
No.
Oh no. I'm here to end this, or stay silent. Nope, I'm here to end this, boys. I stand firm where he strides forward, my fingers hovering over my own weapon. I'm here to end this. A manic laugh echoes around the clearing. And what? In my attempt to fix the imbalance in our world? To stop me saving humanity? I thought you were better than that, Hunter. To waste such precious opportunity, I'm disappointed. I clench my jaw, willing myself to remain calm.
I still embody the righteousness of our order and the will that protects us all. You trained all those years just to defy the very one that guided you, shaped you.
Then he stills, pressing his palm to his chest.
I swear that no night will be traversed in fear, that morning will be a promise and not a hope. I swear I shall lay down my life in the cause of my duty to protect the vulnerable from the creatures of this realm and any beyond it. Until my final breath, I pledge myself to you, body, mind, and soul.
The pledge, the oath that we take before consuming the poison they fed us. The words sound so empty to me now that I know what's become of this order. And yet you never took that oath, did you? You couldn't possibly fathom the weight that those words carry. He drops his hand back to his weapon and he laughs again.
You're right. I am no hunter. I was never worthy, but I have loved a hunter, and I have seen the things they must endure.
I almost want to scoff at him, to laugh in the face of his supposed understanding. He may have loved a hunter, but he killed him too. He surveys me for a second, eyes narrowed, and then he inclines his head. So what now, do you intend to kill me? Killing me would be against your precious code, wouldn't it?
Or are you going to get your demon to do it for you? Might not be such a smart move. There are so many ways for a man with my experience to subdue a creature like him.
Don't bring Omen into this. You're the asshole here. I freeze at the mention of Omen, fingers tight around my weapon, my knuckles bleeding white. Harry notices and he's pleased with himself. He pouts at me, feigning innocence when he sees the sour look that I can't help but offer him. We did just find killing your failure. What? We did just find killing your failure. He clenches his jaw. I have things to do. Let's just get this over with, shall we?
Final chance. You can still join me. There's more where that came from.
I don't need to hesitate in my response. Never. Calmly, he smiles, flexing his gauntlet. A wounded noise rings out around us, something broken and terrible enough to make me want to cover my
A
ears.
shame. You would have been magnificent.
Oh no, shit's about to go down, boys. The sound his sword makes as he draws it from his sheath is cutting, and the impressive weapon glows to life, emanating a bright golden light. Mental reminder to ask August if they knew about that little surprise. He's faster than I expected, and now I finally get to see the infamous powers of Harold Addington III up close. I parry his heavy blows with relative ease, trained to anticipate every move things far more than cunning than him can make. I wonder if he's underestimated me like all enforcers do with their hunters. Then, out of the corner of the eyes, I see her, Aya. Branches twist and snap against the weight of her misshapen frame as she pushes through the brush, her maw wide and vicious, teeth snapping as she struggles forward. Harry could catch me off guard, could see my momentary distraction as the perfect opportunity to strike me down, but he stops, staring me down with wild eyes.
Look what you could have. What we could have.
I try to remain unaffected, but confusion and anger twist in my gut. I am no monster. Harry narrows his eyes at me, fingers tight around the hilt of his sword.
I beg to differ.
With that, he lunges forward and we begin our dance once again. I'm fighting a man I did not want to kill, no matter the crimes he's committed, for I am not the monster he wants me to be. I need to subdue him, and fast, because in my peripheral I can see Aya lurking, and I know that Harry doesn't have any semblance of control over her. She could turn on either of us at any moment. Then, when Aya does not send her crimson eyes upon Harry and me, I see daggers glint in the moonlight. Piper's daggers. She tears from the forest with a battle cry, heading straight for the misshapen creature. She meets each of her lazy attacks with unbidden power, and I try not to let myself become distracted by them, knowing that Piper can handle it. Aya isn't one of us, not anymore. The hunter and human within her long dead. All that remains is a husk, all thanks to the man who stands so boldly before me.
So, you did bring your friends. I knew you wouldn't face me alone.
I scoff, wiping sweat from my brow with the back of my hand. I see now that you long for us to fight alone because you want us to be disposable and forgettable. You called me here to turn me into a monster, but I made Lunaris my home. That must really piss you off. With clenched teeth and a growl, Harry's carefully crafted composure withers and dies as he hurls forward. He lunges, the tip of his blade pointed toward my chest. I shift to parry his attack. Within that second, however, his body pivots and I see the aim in his misdirection. Quick thinking on my part, but I must be quicker. Sharp steel hums at the clash of my weapon against his own, and I can feel the oppressive weight of his desperation trying to blow me down. As soon as I force him back, he strikes me again. His attacks seem to be without pattern, like a random unguided flurry, but in those eyes, I see a man with deadly calculation. Each blow given means to take a tendon, a weak point, a place not always vital, but just enough to keep me from fighting back. Harry believes us all to be lesser, and therein lies his hubris, his weakness. I can see his confidence soar with every blow that barely finds its intended spot. And he seeks to overwhelm me. I'll continue to enjoy letting him think he can. I cast Piper a glance when I can. The cacophony of battle all around us numbs my ears, but I can still hear her, see her, and feel the thrum of angry adrenaline coursing through her. It's not unlike my own, and like her, I trust my instincts to guide me. Purposely, I let my stride waver, become almost haggard, fearful even. I adopt a stance that tries to let the predator think he's weakening his prey, and Harry catches the bait like moth to a flame. He smirks, another blow.
Come now, Hunter. You made for such a good show before, don't falter now.
Is that what you think? I thought you better than this, how disappointing. I force him back again, and though I make him believe he has the upper hand, Harry is a force to be reckoned with. He mimics the same attempts he made at the beginning, sword to chest, but this time with intent. He doesn't change his direction, and there's a renewed force behind it. The blow rattles my bones when the attack connects with my weapon, and his sword reverberates with the magic enchanted into its steel. Harry uses the pressure to force me down. His concentration, all pitted against his weapon-wielding side, allows me an opening. Though Harry may be strong, he doesn't account for me being able to hold him back with one arm. My free hand reaches out for my concealed dagger, the one that was given to us by the Academy during initiation, and I seek to implant it in his side. To my surprise, Harry releases one hand from his hilt of his sword, stopping the dagger before it can meet a vulnerable point between his ribs. He grimaces in pain when the dagger's edge slides against his palm. Deep crimson slick on silver, and yet he still grips it with fervor. His body trembles, but he grins at me despite it all. Close? Stars flicker behind my eyes when Harry headbutts me, a sickening crack, and I stumble away from him, struggling to regain my footing in the dizzying haze. I barely have time to register his next attack, and the downward swing of his sword knocks my weapon from my hand. He connects it a quick kick to my sternum, and I fall to the dirt. Whew. I see the man I'm supposed to call my leader, giving himself a moment to relish his triumph. He observes the dagger that bloodied his hand and huffs a tired laugh.
It would have been ironic if I was the one to give this to you. I suppose this will have to do.
He discards it with a shrug and walks towards me. He truly means to kill me. With renewed confidence, he swings his sword with a flourish, a fluid moment that shows his weapon is just another part of him, and now it rushes for me. I breathe deep, try to regain my lucidity, but it won't be enough. Just as his blade is about to meet me, it's repelled with a brilliant flash. That haze, the smell, that aura that fills my senses, and I know exactly who it is.
Augustus!
Harry strides backward as August stalks forward, cracks of magic snapping at him with palpable intensity. He forces back the attacks with an enchantment upon his blade, but he can't stop the overbearing force that shocks his body each time that they use their power upon him. I watch August gracefully turn their pain into fury, magic licking across their skin as they wave a spell after powerful spell to combat each of his would-be blows while I regain my footing. Their body shakes with lingering static as they finally relax, eyes aglow in the darkness. Harry spits blood, finally faltering to the onslaught, and his body gives way, falling to his knees. August then appears at my side, frantically scanning me for any injuries, but I wave them off, adrenaline still coursing violently through my veins. I'm fine. You sure? I nod, turning my attention to Harry. He kneels in the dirt, his dusty black coat pulling around him, his right hand red with blood. His breathing is labored, but I know we don't harm him enough for there to be any immediate threat to his life. I glance over at the heap of blood and bones that was once my fellow hunter. Piper kneels beside her, and Ezra holds her tightly as Finn watches in silent support. I'm trying my best to read all this, I swear, y'all. I see Omen and Alcar emerge from the forest, and in the tree line a litany of glowing red eyes, the clan. The pain and suffering in this clearing alone is enough to make me furious, enough to warrant this man's death, and yet, he looks up at me with those piercing blue eyes.
Just do it!
August rests their hand upon my arm, but I don't want to meet their gaze, afraid of what I might find. I stare down at him, at my lieutenant general, and I remember the taste of it, the vile cold in my palm, an encouraging smile from the enforcer who handed it to me, a child so eager to please and feel love that would be taken from their family. Magic and the blood of the other foreign things coursing through my body, seeping and sinking deep into my bones like an incurable infection. I seek my vows and took my oath, and I become theirs. I have been faithful to their cause, all of us have, and this is where it ends. This is where I break it. No matter how long I live, there is one sight, one moment that I could never erase from my mind. Harold Addington on his knees, covered in blood, asking me, no, begging me to end it all. My body trembles with the effort of my steps as I follow August into the depths of the dungeons. I'm exhausted, beaten and bruised at the hands of the person who dragged me into this mess, the man who vowed to protect me, to protect us all. August and I do not speak. In fact, I don't think I've spoken since the enforcers burst into that clearing and grabbed their leaders by his shoulders, yanking him away from my weapon. Would I have finished him if had he asked again, if I had the chance? I suppose I'll never know, but the anger and hurt that I feel are stifling, almost suffocating. August pauses before me, their long fingers curled around the bars of the door that separates us from the line of cells, and they take a deep, shuddering breath. I'm almost scared to look at them because I've seen them cry enough for one lifetime. Then, when they finally do speak, their voice is quiet and strained.
I cannot promise I'll be of much use.
It's okay, August. They nod, drawing in a serrated breath and letting it out slowly. Then they push, iron scraping across the uneven stone as we enter. Every enforcer that lines the seemingly never-ending corridor stands to attention when they see August, and it's now that I realize that with Harry chained in a cell, that they are the most senior official in Lunaris. That thought calms me somewhat, to know that amongst all the chaos that we are now all in the hands of one of the people I trust the most, capable hands, even if it is temporary. The loud click of their shoes resumes as they stride past the dungeon guards with their purpose, but their eyes are still down, not a trace of the usual authoritative way that they hold themselves. I follow dutifully, a slight limp to my step, every muscle and bone of my body protesting as I move. I can feel the pull of dried blood upon my skin, not entirely sure if it's his or mine, but I know that he got more than a few hits in on me. I should probably see Ezra up soon. August approaches the head guard that is stationed opposite Harry's cell. Has he been in any trouble? No, General Willenheim, Lieutenant. However, he has been talking to himself. August nods at her, turning to face me and running a hand over his face, exasperated.
Let us just get this over with.
August's steps falter as they draw near to the final cell where the man they've once viewed as something akin to a father is contained. I can hear him whispering, his soft voice lacking the venom that he was steeped with just hours ago. I swear I hear him utter James's name. August closes their eyes, dropping their chin to their chest. They must have heard it too. I wonder if his fallen husband is really with him, or if he's finally lost his mind. Again, August takes a deep breath and looks at me. I nod, stepping closer to show my support is unwavering and that I'm here, and we approach the bars together. Harry falls silent. He's stripped of his weapon and his forcer attire, left in nothing but muddy trousers and a blood-stained shirt. Somehow he still manages to look refined, even though the bruises and cuts that litter his handsome face. He sits with his back against the wall, his knees drawn tight to his chest, arms casually slung over him. The golden glint of his wedding ring catches my eye as he twists it around his finger, the sight making my chest hurt, even after all he's done. His cheeks are ruddy, the dirt and blood that is caked upon his skin, streaked with tear tracks, now dried.
I am glad that it will be you, Augustus.
August clears his throat, curling their hands into fists.
What makes you think that I will show you mercy?
Harry stands, the movement clearly a great effort for him. He grimaces as he straightens up, watching us watch him as he approaches the bars, and his demeanor shifts into something more familiar, something hardened. You are a worthy opponent, Ddog. I haven't hurt like this in decades. I ignore him, giving August the floor.
I will ask again. What makes you think that I will show you even a sliver of mercy after all that you've done?
Harry curls his fingers around the bars, his face half illuminated by dull candlelight, half bathed in shadows. He looks older than I remember, tired, defeated. He studies August, his eyes flickering over their features.
Because you are no murderer.
August's knuckles bleed white where they continue to ball their hands, and it would appear as though they don't have a response for him. I step forward as close as I can without the worry that Harry might try something stupid that would result in him receiving a broken arm. And what about me? Am I a murderer? Harry smiles smugly.
If you were, we wouldn't be standing here having this conversation, would we? You had your chance, you hesitated. Hunters do not hesitate.
Just because you're a monster doesn't mean I am. He sighs, leaning forward and pressing his face between the bars.
Oh, but what a wonderful monster you would have made.
It's
Such
not...
a shame that you were so unwilling to even listen to the offer that I could have made you.
That's not... Sir, you're an idiot. You're an idiot, sir. I still don't understand what you hope to achieve after all of your failures, the lack of control you ever had over those beasts. Harry chuckles, pouting.
Augustus, do not speak ill of your subordinates.
Be quiet.
Magic skitters across her skin for the briefest moment, a flash of indigo that lights up the dark that surrounds us. Harry doesn't flinch, doesn't so much as blink.
You don't get to do that. You don't get to speak of them as if they were anything other than disposable to you.
August turns to me, their expression softening.
The decision is yours. He doesn't deserve to have me show him any mercy. Therefore, his fate...
Oh, I get to make a decision, don't I? They pause, then they walk away from him, leaning against the wall. Then they... What? Blah, blah, blah. Let's try that again, shall we? They pause, and then they walk away from him, leaning against the wall that separates his cell and the next. They're out of his sight, but I can see them as clear as day. I look at my friend, at my enforcer. I almost loathe to be the one to make this decision, but August deserves a reprieve from this. I nod at them and Harry's smile fades. The one that I called here to serve as my greatest creation is the one who finally decides my fate. Beautiful, I suppose. It's all coming full circle. I watch the bob of his throat as he swallows, his eyes fixed upon me and only me. Oh, condemn him to life imprisonment or grant him a trial. He killed a lot of people. But everyone, you gotta have a trial, right? That's like a right? Huh. I'm assuming, I'm glad it's just wasn't just like mercy or death. We could... Nah, we're condemning him. I'm gonna be mean. I can truly see no other option where everyone wins. If I sentence him to die, I am as bad as him. He killed people, yes, and his actions are unforgivable, but to kill him would be a crime in itself. It is not only something that my name would forever be associated with, but something that would hurt August. I guess going to trial would be trial for death. I find myself thinking of James too, though he wanted Harry brought to justice. He did not want harm to come to him now that we have him. I'm sure we'll have to come up with some story about why the widely loved lieutenant has stepped down from his post. Having to explain why his head is no longer attached to his body would be a little trickier. To tell the people what he's done would only scare them, and they are scared enough by the inhuman things that walk the earth that we've swarmed to protect them from. We need them to trust us, not to think that the ones who guard them can hurt them too. You'll remain in chains for the rest of your life. You will get no trial and no chance to explain or redeem yourself. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Augustus turning and walking away. I listen to the echo of their steps getting quieter as they disappear before I look at Harry again. Harry looks at me as though he's almost disappointed. Is that it? I gather that you wanted me to kill you if what you said back in the clearing is anything to go by. That's true. He probably wants to be with his husband. I will not give you what you wish for. Instead, you will live a miserable life in solitude. Maybe it'll give you a chance to think about all the things you've done. I turn away from him, readying myself to walk out of these dungeons and never see his face again. We all have to live with the consequences of your actions, so shall you. As I begin to move away, I hear a loud bang, fist hitting metal, then maniacal laughter. A sound that follows me long after I push open the exit door and feel cold air upon my face. I find August in their office standing before the window that overlooks Lunaris. The town is peaceful at this hour. The townfolk tucked safely in their beds. I quietly approach, almost not wanting to disturb them. You did so well, Ddog.
I am infinitely proud of you and happy to call you my subordinate, though I'm sure I've valued your guidance far more than you valued mine in your time here.
Impossible, Lieutenant. August grimaces, but I can see a smile curling at the corner of his lips.
Temporary, Lieutenant. Don't get too excited. When the other higher-ups arrive to assess the situation, I may very well be out of a job entirely.
That would be a crime in itself. You've done much more for Lunaris than Harry ever did. You will do more. Their smile's genuine, but they look so exhausted as I feel.
You're kind, but I know these people. Besides, I cannot bring myself to think of anything other than passing out in my bed right now, as should you.
Go, get Ezra to check you over. You look downright pasty. Just call me pasty. Yes, you're right. I reach for the handle of the door, pausing before I step outside. Good night, August, and thank you for everything. They smile again, turning their back to look over the town. All I can think about is, as I step outside, is that there's still so much to be done, though with the adrenaline leaving me, I'm beginning to feel lightheaded and leaden from the exertion. Oddly, madly, that strikes me as funny somehow. After all that, after the fear and the pain that being fed the concoction and turned into something halfway towards the abomination that had become of Harry's victims, I'm still so frail, aren't I? So frail that even this hurts. I stumble, that in itself is nothing unusual, but the hard surface I vaguely know to be there, and reach out up to lean against, I miss, and I feel my guts clench as the ground reaches up to meet me. Strong arms wind around me, under my arms, pulling me up, and they keep me there effortlessly. Omen's presence fills my senses as it often does, a swirling press of demonic aura, and his concern so fierce just for me. Hello. Hi. I'm glad you're okay. And then a small breathless laugh. I don't feel that alright, all things said. My entire body is aching now, and my limbs feel like they weigh 20 stone each. But I don't think Omen is lying or putting it lightly. As he gently lowers me to the ground and holds my face with his hands, I honestly believe it could have been a lot worse. We got him. We got the bastard, and now we have to figure out where to go from here and how to go about it. The words falter in my throat, mostly because it's nothing but a jumble of thoughts still. I gnaw on my lip, then stop as Omen's warm ones press a kiss to the corner of my mouth. It's a small tender thing, enough for a distraction. His tail winds around my arm in anchor.
You've done so well. Let's get you to Ezra. I'm sure he's waiting. He was worried for you.
I grimace. I do feel bad, honestly. Most of these recent times, whenever I show up at Ezra's, it's to bring trouble to his porch. But my injuries demand to be seen, and people deserve answers. I know that much. Oh, no, where are we? Look, you're giving me the option to kiss. We are going to kiss. We have kissed so many times, why would I not? You getting a kiss, bruh. Boom. I wind my arms around Omen's neck and pull him down and kiss him, the taste I've missed so much in such a short time. Omen holds me tightly, his body temperature almost unbearably hot, and I can't shake the feeling of leaning against something much bigger, much more monstrous in my mind's eye, but his unmistakable presence is enough. Sorry. Don't apologize. You can't control what someone does in reaction to something you did. I look at Omen and his eyes soften, and I can see his face because his skin glows ever so slightly in the dim. His form blurry, his hair trailing off in a wisp of flames. Wow, couldn't read that sentence for the life of me. Omen inclines his head and sinks to his knees next to me, holding my hand. He doesn't say anything for a long minute. I lean my head on his shoulder, hoping this is enough. Thank you. You're welcome. I love you. He smiles so wide his eyes slip closed.
I love you too. And I don't love you out of an apology. Know this.
Slowly, Omen rises. He pulls me to my feet and throws my arm over his shoulder, and we limp along toward Ezra's, towards Sanctuary. 3 months later, yeah, we're getting an epilogue right now. I can feel someone watching me, or something. I smile, eyes still closed. Good morning. I hear a quiet laugh, and then a warm finger runs down over my nose, traces the curve of my lips. A kiss is pressed to my cheek, his breath sweet against my skin.
Good morning, beloved.
I turn on my pillow and find wise chestnut brown eyes staring back at me. He's fully dressed already, which is a bit of a disappointment, but the sight of him in my bed never fails to brighten my day.
Today, you become something new. Are you afraid?
He catches me a little off guard, and I pause as I think it over for a moment, my mind going blank. Am I afraid? Today I'm going to stand in front of Lunaris, in front of people who view me as a hero, in front of my found family, and I'm going to become Lieutenant General of Escria. Well, of the Hunters, anyway, because we've made some changes. Am I afraid? Let's put terrified. Boom. I take a deep breath because shit, that's a lot of responsibility, isn't it? Between August, Piper, and I, we've basically reformed the agency, and at least we've started to with very little support from the faceless higher-ups. I just want to do a good job, do right by all the people who, like me, we've had our lives messed with. Omen continues to assess me, his brow furrowed, and then he smiles.
There's nothing that can match you or outsmart you. Or Piper and August, for that matter. You've done well to banish anything that threatened you before now, and you will again.
The way he says it, almost like he knows this for certain, he takes my hand and squeezes it tightly, another reassurance. I wonder if he knows that, if that's part of what makes him Omen, and then I feel strangely relaxed all of a sudden. I see.
You have nothing to fear. I promise you.
I let his words sink in, let the warmth of his skin sink bone deep, and I exhale. Today's the day. Oh yeah, we're kissing him. We always do. His unrelenting gaze starts to make me feel hot, a prickled awareness that thrums throughout my entire body. A smile hooks the corner of his pretty mouth, and as if he's read my mind, he leans in and captures my lips with a kiss. I let myself get lost in it, in the taste of him, chocolate of course, and I let everything else melt away around us. His hair is silk soft when I sink my fingers into it. I trace the tips of his pointed ears, his jewelry clinking quietly and filling the blissful silence. His eyes are hooded when he pulls away, but just an inch, close enough for me to see the glimmer of fire in his eyes. He must leave. I nod, clearing my throat, trying and miserably failing to gather my composure. That I do, regretfully. He laughs, brushing my nose with his own, another kiss of sorts.
I'll be waiting for you.
Though my head is relatively clear, I decide to go for a little walk. I've been back to the scene of my clash with Harry a few times now, mainly because I hope that I might get to speak to James again, and maybe just have a sign that he's still here and that he's okay. I think of him often, and I believe if he was there with me that night, a lingering presence that pushed me to win, to not give up. I still can't help but wonder what he thinks of Harry now. Was he really there in that cell, talking to him on that day? Or maybe he's finally passed over from whatever in between he was stuck in. I hope. It's summer in Lunaris now, but there's still a chill in the air, and the grass is crisp beneath my boots as I walk into the clearing. Maybe it's just the passing of seasons, but it feels like life is breathing back into the small town. Everything feels easier. Harry still resides in the dungeons beneath Lunaris, serving out his sentence in the place he tried to destroy amongst people. He tried to ruin. Long gone are the enforcers who assist in him, regardless of if they claim to have been coaxed or threatened into helping. There are no excuses for what they did. I'm yet to visit him again, and maybe I never will, but I know August has a few times. They pity him, I think. Even after everything, I don't question them on it. I take a deep breath, crouching down to press my fingers to the still scorched earth. Apparently things don't grow back if they've been touched by August's magic. I decide that this is the last time I'll come here. It feels freeing. On my way to visit Ezra, I decide to stop by the Ibex to check in with our favorite creepy duo. Aurora has laid low since Harry's downfall. She's probably thoroughly disappointed that I didn't succumb to his nefarious plan and turn myself into an unidentifiable monstrosity. Maybe she would have thought it charming, or maybe she would have wanted to date me. Not at all strange or unnerving. I walk toward the dais, the air a little warmer here than I remember, the sun shining through the cracked windows and illuminating the lectern. There stands Armoros, as coy as ever, and quite obviously making a point to avoid my eye contact in the hope that I'll not notice him, I assume. Hunter. Hello. He takes a deep breath and steps into the aisle, his hands clasped politely in front of him. Can I help you with anything? I shrug, not really knowing why I'm here. I was just passing by. Is Aurora about? His mouth twists, his pale blue eyes darting to the side. Considering his sister is so very good at not giving me anything away, Armoros has absolutely no subtlety about him. She left. Left where? He tilts his head, making eye contact. Left Lunaris. I see any particular reason. He sighs and gestures for me to follow him. We sit in the pews in the first row, and Armoros leans back, tipping his head and gazing up at the domed ceiling. I imagine it was so beautiful here once. Then he sits up, fixing his jacket and frowning, twisting slightly to face me. I've dutifully followed my sister my whole life, you know. We lost our parents to vampires at 14, but even then, Aurora was fascinated by creatures. She would sneak out at night and seek out them in the graveyard by our estate. I began to lose count at how many times I saved her, always dragging her out of the way of claws or teeth. They didn't try to kill you, your parents? He shakes his head, looking down at the hands where they rest in his lap. They didn't get the chance. Hunters come not long after they rose from their graves. Aurora was there, she saw everything, she truly believed that they wouldn't have harmed her. So that's where Aurora's resentment for us comes from. I almost pity her. Almost. You never seem to be on board with her beliefs. Why continue to follow her? Amaros laughs. It's a pleasant sound, and he seems like a different man, lighter somehow. I've never had anyone else. I love my sister. Despite her eccentricities, I never wanted any harm to come to her. I am a patient man, and I would follow her to hell and back if required. But he laughs again. Ah, yes, but I've always wanted my own life. I have that now with Elaine. His pale cheeks turn bright pink with the second her name leaves his lips. It's adorable. You're in love with her. He nods, his mouth curling into a soft smile. I'm going to ask her to marry me. I'm going to ask Satan's daughter to marry me. I told my sisters, and she fled town. I can't help but laugh, but I feel impossibly rude the second the noise erupts. I cover my mouth with my hand, but Amaros is laughing too. You think she'd be thrilled to have the Princess of Hells as her sister-in-law, wouldn't you? You would, yes, but then my sister has always been full of surprises. She'll be back, though. We've never been apart for more than a day or two at most. I think she's just reassessing her life and her choices. Hopefully. Well, I'm happy for you, Amaros. Just please don't start trying to terrorize our nice, newly peaceful town. He blushes again, nodding as if I wasn't joking. Well, I kinda wasn't, I guess. I swear it. We both turn at the sound of the entrance doors creaking open, and there stands Elaine, silhouetted by the sunlight. I look at Amaros and the way his face lights up, at the way he quickly stands and brushes non-existent dust from his trousers and tucks his blonde hair behind his ears. Ddog, it's lovely to see you. The demon offers me a curtsy and smiles sweetly, her brown eyes flickering curiously between Amaros and me. She must sense his mood and places a delicate hand upon his arm, which he immediately covers with his own. Where is Aurora, Army? Ah, well. I decided that's my cue to give them some privacy. The news that Aurora fled will be startling, but I imagine his proposition will be even more so. I have to go. I need to prepare for tonight. Amaros nods in silent thanks. I wish you well. Do stop by any time, will you? An olive branch, maybe even the start of a new relationship between us and whatever is left of the Ibeck. I'm interested to see what will become under Amaros's lead. Or if it will become anything at all. Goodbye. Congratulations. Omen tells me you're transforming later. New beginnings and forms are always wonderful. I stifle a smile, assuming that both she and Omen will still have the wrong idea about what the ceremony entails. I do hope he isn't disappointed that I don't sprout wings. Thank you, Elaine. Amaros. I feel their eyes upon me as I leave, though for the very first time I feel it isn't out of scrutiny, but likely for the polite peace that they need. Excited anxiety blooms between the two lovers. When I step inside the street, Omen immediately appears, whipping around to face me, his movement so sharp I still have to step back and raise my hands warily. I have no doubt he would never hurt me, but still. Not that it would take words or even my senses to see the demon prince is well rattled. There's a sharp pinch to Omen's brow, and flames wisp trail at his hair. Noticing me staring, though, some of that fades away. Omen smiles sheepishly. Sorry. I respectfully distance away. Alcar shorts and straightens from where he's been leaning against the wall. He gingerly pats Omen on the back. It's fine. Are you all right? Part of me wonders if it's another earth-shattering problem about to roll into town that I'm definitely not fucking ready for. It would certainly be poetic to have my promotion crashed right here, right now, but I don't want to get caught between the next big thing and August's rage if the ceremony is postponed. My unease must have been evident because even as Omen opens his mouth to answer, Alcar laughs. Elaine's getting married. What? Armos plans to do that thing mortals do. Propose? Yes. Oh, that. Occurs to me that maybe Elaine had been speaking to Omen about it before she arrived at the Ibeck. Clearly, he's not half excited about the prospect as either Amaros or his sister. Omen wrings his hands together, and I'm not sure how he feels when I realize he's more worried than angry. She'll say yes. This is a very exciting thing for her, I'm sure, to enter a sort of contract with a human, but humans are not good with promises. Not to say you're not, Ddog. Yeah, what are you saying about me there, Omen? Behind him, Alcar rolls his eyes fondly and shakes his head. He places a hand on Omen's shoulder reassuringly, and I do the same on the other shoulder. Elaine is in good hands, Omen. Good, careful hands and heart. I hadn't forgotten the sliver of her true power she permitted me to glimpse in the Ibeck that day. But I have a feeling Armoros knows exactly what he's dealing with. Armoros is no fool, and he would never undervalue an oath or a pact. In fact, I'm sure he's well aware of what he's getting into. I lower my voice and lean closer. After all, I'm sure what I'm getting into. Omen blinks. Then he sucks in a deep breath and lets out, shoulders drooping.
Of course, beloved. You're right.
We're sorry, it's a bit shaken. He glances at Alcar uncertainly, who purses his lips in thought. Big shocker. Yes. But don't mistake my alarm for unhappiness or disapproving. Maybe this is the best way. Elaine and I shared many things, our histories, our lives, our souls once, but it's rare for her to engage with mortals as I do. Omen frowns at me, inclining his head. But I take it you'll watch them. Yes. There's little use lying about it, shrewd as it may say. I am glad the Princess of Hells decided to pick a man right under our eyes to involve herself with. Not just in our town defense, we live by our blades, but living is so much more than killing and dying. This peace we forged together, I want to preserve it. Ddog will be watching all of us, and honestly, I think we've got some work cut out for you, Lieutenant. I'm not Lieutenant General yet.
In a few hours you will be, and I'm glad it's you. After all, imagine what it would have been like if Piper got it instead. Ugh.
Now that's a thought, though I'm sure you're glad that isn't the case. She would have done fine. She cares about this town and its stupid problems more than she makes it sound like, and we've all been here anyway. Alcar nudges Omen, and the demon blinks and shudders as though waking from a dream. There's a shift in the air around him that I noticed, a sense of movement like when somebody snatches back their hand. You were talking with Elaine? Yes. He sighs and wrings his hands together. She wants my thoughts on things, and I need to talk to her as soon as possible, immediately. He stares into the distance and claps his hands over Alcar's, resting it on his shoulder after all this time, and slips away. I will see you later, okay? He sketches a short but graceful bow and walks briskly to the nearest alleyway. I shake my head as his presence retreats with supernatural speed. As soon as he's gone, Alcar chuckles. Betcha anything Elaine's going to rope him into helping her pick color themes for the wedding. Good for her. And my entire department will have a meeting tomorrow on how to handle this goddamn beloved miraculous town chock full with wonders, such as not one but two powerful demons among other things, one of whom is going to get married to a human, one that once helmed a cult against our kind. Fucking Lunaris. I can imagine how not happy August will be to hear about it, but what can you do? What can a lieutenant general do, indeed? I look up to see Alcar watching me. His smirk only widens with a grin, though, and he inclines his head, wolf ears twitching. Get going before Willenheim tears down half the town looking for you being 10 minutes late. Most certainly. See you later. Aye. Alcar walks backwards until he disappears the way Omen went, giving me one last shit-eating grin, that ever-endearing half-assed wave. Whew. I think this is going to end up being the finale, and I'm just going to keep the stuff going. I just want to let you all know that. So this is a movie finale. As our shop is Billy, a line of townsfolk impatiently waiting outside. I decide to sneak in the back door to avoid unavoidable conversations. In the kitchen, I find Finn and Alcar arm wrestling. I literally just saw you. Alcar quickly turns his head and frowns at me.
And what about it?
How did you get here so fast? He ignores me, concentrating too hard on making sure Finn doesn't snap his arm off, I assume. I roll my eyes and pull up a chair, smirking as I watch Alcar's arm shake. Finn quirks one of those dark brows at me and winks. He always insists I use my prosthetic. Silly of him, don't you think? Alcar growls, his face turning beet red with the effort. Shut up, mosquito man. I'd win in a second if you used your normal one. Finn and I share a knowing look seconds before he slams Alcar's fist to the table, the fine china upon it clinking loudly with the force. There might even be a dent in the wood from the impact. 4-0, want to go again? He wiggles his iron fingers, the magic in them flickering teasingly. Then Ezra appears, his arms folded across his chest, and I don't think I've ever seen Finn move so fast.
Hey, what if I told you two about doing that in here?
Go ruin the furniture in the tavern.
They won't let us.
Oh, really? I do wonder why. He pointedly looks at the ridge of his lovely little table, then back between the wolf and the vampire.
No more. Don't you have some important vampire business to attend to? And Alcar, well, I don't know what you could possibly have to do, actually.
Alcar huffs and puffs, sliding down in his chair and crossing his arms. Finn sidles up to Ezra, grinning as he reaches for his face.
Angel, I was just keeping him out of trouble.
Ezra narrows his eyes at him, but his body language betrays him as he greedily leads into the vampire's touch.
You're both as bad as each other.
Finn presses a kiss to his cheek, and Ezra can no longer stifle his smile. He turns his face and lets Finn capture his lips in a quick kiss. Alcar groans, making loud retching noises as he stands, his chair scraping across the tiled floor.
I'm definitely fucking going if they're doing that.
Finn throws him a deathly glare that makes him wither, and as I stand to address Ezra. It seems busy. Do you need any help? He quickly shakes his head. No, you have enough going on today. Go, I'll be fine. He gives Alcar one final cursory glance before he parts with through the lavender curtain and disappears. Don't you two actually have somewhere better to be? They look at each other and shrug exactly at the same time, Alcar waltzing over and prodding Finn's chest with his thumb.
Mr. Walking Combustible here can't go to the wolf until the sun goes down, can he? So no. Clearly I need better friends. Less flammable ones who don't ruin my drinking time.
Finn swats him away and growls, which only seems to egg Alcar on. I actually do have somewhere to be, so sorry, but I can't babysit you.
You're as boring as you are old.
His tail swishes behind him as he makes for the door, sending Finn scrambling into the corner, away from the sunlight that streams through the gap. Later. Prat. I tilt my head and grin at him. Do you actually have somewhere to be? He smiles.
No, I was just going to go home and find something fancy to wear for your special moment.
Will it have buttons?
Absolutely not.
Why can't it have buttons? That's okay. You have a nice chest. Oh, that's it? That's all the conversation? Okay. After Ezra's, I headed home to get changed into my new uniform. I've never had to wear one before, but I suppose I don't now. But I want to show people who I am and what I do, to show them I'm here to protect them and what I am proud to do. August decided to redesign our sash. It's blue to represent stability, trust, wisdom, and most importantly, loyalty. So as I walk through Lunaris, bathed in black, gold, and sky blue, I feel a sense of renewal, of change and pride. There are people setting up outside headquarters for the ceremony. Hunters and enforcers pour out of every room, and I head down the corridor toward August's office, all of them with smiles plastered on their faces. I gently tap the door and it immediately swings open. Piper is standing there grinning at me, dressed in her new uniform. Wow. Piper snorts and does a little spin, showing off. You like it? I step inside, closing the door behind me. You look amazing, General. Then I see August. Ah, shit. Look how fancy he looks. They appear from behind the desk, and suddenly I feel horribly underdressed. They both look incredible. Oh, you got your hair braided too? Good for you. You too, Lieutenant. They gesture at the papers that adorn their desk. Shall we?
We need to come to an agreement on all of this, and fast. I have an hour until my speech, and I'd quite like to not fuck it up.
Piper rests her elbows on her knees and her chin in her hands, and she squints down at the pages of elegant script.
You know exactly what I don't agree with. Everything else is fine.
August and I share a look. They seem upset over knowing what thing Piper disagrees with, and they know that I don't exactly feel much excitement over it either. I speak before they get the chance. The initiation cannot be scrapped. Without it, we're too vulnerable. We'd be left defenseless. Piper glares at me, but I continue. We just need to make changes, be transparent. You really think that the kids will willingly drink a mix of monster blood to get big and strong? It's sensitive, all of it, and it's fucked up, and we know it, but Ddog is right. We cannot simply afford to not have hunters. We just need to handle it delicately somehow. They sit in their chair and run their hand through their face, tapping their finger against their lips.
We give them the choice and lay it all out. Full disclosure. If they say no, they say no, and we leave them be.
What if everyone says no? We all sit in silence.
Ugh.
Eventually, Piper groans and bangs her head on the desk. Can't I just go and kill nasties? I'm no good at this diplomatic bullshit. I pat her on the back. You can still stab things. A muffled too fucking right I can comes from somewhere under her hair. August is staring into oblivion, still tapping their lip.
Becoming a hunter is still seen as a great honor by most. It's coveted. If we continue to utilize the same method of selection in bringing the candidates to the academy, then we can give them the choice.
But still keep it a secret from those who don't participate. August nods, standing up and beginning to pace. We can simply make them forget what they've been told before they leave if they refuse. Piper lifts her head quickly, glaring at them. It's a harmless spell, and as if I'd suggest anything untoward, Piper, please. She grunts. All right, I'm watching you, though. They roll their eyes. I think that may be our only option, transparency, but continuing to protect ourselves. The public cannot know what we do to gain our power. With that, August sits back down and pulls a clean piece of parchment from the drawer. They pick up their quill and begin to write. When they're finished, the three of us sign it and a new rule is born. Gone are the barbaric ways of leaving children in the dark of what their futures will hold and what runs through their veins. They will be our protectors, but they will know what they are and serve escrow with pride and dignity instead of fear and uncertainty. Piper rubs her hands together almost greedily, and I'm beginning to think she's lying about not liking this diplomatic bullshit. She's good at it too. Now, for our second task.
As the creatures, our relationship with them right now is perilous at best. Even the ones that bring no harm don't really like us that much. And they're more than essential to our survival as an agency that actually succeeds.
Can't blame them, really. Harry was out there kidnapping and killing even the good ones. What do you think? Oh, we need a stronger alliance. More people, the better. There's no question about it when it comes to our relationship with the creatures. We have to do everything we can to fix the fractures Harry caused. As you said, they're essential. Then I pause, carefully considering my next words. Have you ever thought about having creatures working within the agency? They both stare at me like I've lost my fucking mind, just as I expected them to. You're saying we should just shove some Lycans and some demons in our uniform and off they pop. They're mental. August says nothing and just keeps staring at me. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there are creatures out there who want peace just as much as we do. Creatures who have had enough power to actually convince others of their kind to join us or leave us alone. A representative maybe, not a new branch, just creature relations, someone to be our liaison when required. Piper looks like her eyes are going to drop out of her skull. She has them so wide.
I cannot believe you're actually thinking about this.
She doesn't sound angry, just tired of it. I get it. It's not ideal, I know, but we can find other ways to lessen the attacks on our kind, then why the hell not? We just put strict rules in place and ensure that they have too much to lose if they betray us. August eyes Piper, who has fallen strangely silent. I think she knows that this will be good for us, despite her personal views on the matter. She nods. I'll sign. August offers her a small smile and picks up their quill. We all sign at once. We all sign once again, ready to tackle our final conflict. Now we discuss you, both of you. Piper and I share a glance, and she sits a little straighter in her chair. I think that sometimes Piper truly does forget how important August is about to become.
Hunters have long been governed by us, the enforcers. I personally feel like that is unfair, because what the hell do we know about putting our lives on the line, right?
You know. They look at her, tilting their head in question.
You know, August, you've gotten your hands dirty more times than any of those other pencil pushers. I'll never have a better partner.
August's expression softens. They almost look like they might cry, or at least think about crying. I had no idea you felt that way. Piper scoffs her boots on the floor, looking anywhere but at August. Yeah, well, everything that's happened, I blocked out. Well, after everything that happened, I blocked it out. I'm sorry, Piper, about all of it.
I promise to do better by you, which is why I'm proposing that we create a new hierarchy, or rearrange our current one at least. Many enforcers aren't fit to dictate what higher-ranking hunters do. They're more concerned with politics than they are with the safety of our people.
Take those decisions out of our hands, of those who value bureaucracy above all else, and into the hands of the ones who are literally created to know how to save lives. Within reason, yes, I will consider this a little more carefully. It's complicated, and I'll value both your inputs. Piper grins at me.
Can't believe it's taken the agency this long to realize it.
Yes, well, a fresh start. Now we should go. They'll be waiting for us. August stands and fixes their uniform, fiddling with the end of their braid. They're nervous. August, you have nothing to worry about. I just don't want to let anyone down. His shadow lingers over me. No, it doesn't. None of them know what he did, and they won't either. As far as they're concerned, this is a natural progression. Despite all that, Harry did it would still be you. Oh, sorry. Despite all that Harry did, it would still be you standing up there if you stood down gracefully. Man, sometimes punctuation is needed in this. Piper creeps closer and rests her hand upon August's shoulder. Ddog's right, you deserve this, and I can't imagine it being anyone else. August inhales, then exhales sharply. Let's go. It passes in a blur. I watch Piper get her title back, the highest ranking hunter in Lunaris after me. She smiles the whole time, staring out into the crowd as they cheer for her. She's given extra honors for her involvement in the Harry investigation. None of these people who clap and grin for us know what really happened, but they don't care. All they care is that they're safe. I step up into the podium and listen to August talk, but it feels like I'm underwater, like everything is muffled and far away. A few weeks ago, when I was told I'd be offered this position, August pulled me aside and asked me if I wanted the responsibility, and I asked them why me. I expected them to shrug and respond with why not, but they didn't. They said that Harry targeted me for a reason, for my stats and my kill count, but August began to see that from the moment we started working together, that Harry had it all wrong. That I'm so much more than the strength I have and the lives I take, and that Harry never accounted for all the human parts of me. That I'm determined, that I want to fight to survive, that even with the odds are stacked against me. That I am human above all else, despite the inhuman blood that runs through my veins. So, as August pins that badge to my coat and ties my sash around my waist, I remember those words and I smile and wave at the gathered crowd, swearing to protect them no matter what. I see familiar faces out there. Finn, Ezra, Alcar, Raven, and Lux. Even Edna left the wolf to grimace at me from afar. I've made Lunaris my home somehow, after never really having one before. Inevitably, irresistibly, my feet carry me back to the dilapidated temple in the middle of the town. The Armak looms cold and silent as I ascend its stone steps, but the chapel beyond its doors is not empty. I can sense him with ease, even from a distance away, now that Omen is no longer hiding. If I close my eyes, he is like a flame in the dark, so bright yet waiting for me. A part of my mind wonders humorously why I am so unafraid of going into an enclosed space alone with one of the most powerful demons I have ever faced. The reason comes quick, however, as Omen turns from where he's been examining the stained glass window of the dais, and our eyes meet and he smiles. Big. His gladness washes over me like the pleasant heat of a fireplace on a cold night, and grinning, I stride to close the distance between us. Omen meets me halfway in a hug, then a kiss on my jaw, his fingers hot where they rest on the back of my neck. His eyes are soft if searching.
They let you go early? Usually humans take a while with these kinds of ceremonies.
I snort incredulously, glancing at the dark sky beyond the window. This isn't early. Right enough, your circadian rhythm. I squeeze my arms around his waist and his tail curls around my thigh as he presses closer. I hear the smallest throat clear and look up, reluctantly letting Omen go, if just for a little, and glare into the shadow where Armoros's pale face stares back. Omen laughs as Armoros shakes his head and disappears again, probably to kiss his demon paramour. He twines his fingers around mine and leads me up to the dais where more brimstone lilies have grown from the cracks of the stones, glowing red. I eye the altar and the dais wearily, but Omen leans on the former without any reservations, so after a moment I give up and do the same. Our shoulders touch as we stare up at the window and the weak moonlight flooding in, the glimpse of the night beyond.
You know, I would never have imagined this.
What, the whole mess with the hunters? But Omen shakes his head, and when he turns to me, there is something odd about how he looks, blurry at the edge, fraying. There's a silhouette of horns and fire where a portion of his face is cast in shadows, and I notice, somehow for the first time, that he speaks without moving his lips. He doesn't speak my language either, but something else, something both strange and familiar, carrying the comfort of a conversation I've been invited to. The demon's tongue.
That I would meet you. That out of the terrible chaos, we could forge this together.
It was a two-person job. Thank you for trusting me. Omen blinks slowly, then smiles.
Thank you for reaching out your hand. I wonder if my father will ever understand how mortals love. Your kind have such short lives, such limited visions, and are nothing but encouragement for you to see farther, aim higher, to lean closer to truths and troubles that won't leave you unscathed.
Omen leans down, plucking a few brimstone lilies and holding them delicately in his hand. They glow ever brightly still, so bright they almost hurt my eyes. He stares at them wistfully, then turns to me and smiles. Ooh, cute. Ooh, even more cute. There have been times when worshippers of small faiths around this country tell me of their gods and beliefs, how they're embraced by the divine and cherished. Sometimes I thought it was all lies concocted to help people sleep at night. Sometimes I had hoped for their sake in mind that it is true. In Omen's eyes, I see something akin to those prayers for love described. We're not the same. I feel that rift in the things that we are, and I see it in the silhouette he casts, the shadow of many more eyes. But his smile, the side of his face the moon illuminates, the affection that fills the room with a physical presence. It isn't a rift, but a canyon through which there is a bridge. I take Omen's hand and kiss his knuckles, and he presses his palm to my face. I want to say something, but precious few words can I find in the face of something that loves me, loves the mortal and somewhat fucked up being that I am, so overwhelmingly. Omen tucks some of the flowers he holds behind my ear clumsily. They aren't as actually hot as their glow suggests, and he chuckles in embarrassment when some of them fall off anyway.
That went smoother in my head.
He's speaking in my tongue again, his accent thick and endearing. I love you, Omen.
I love you too.
End? Is that the end? Credits? The end! We did it at exactly an hour into this episode. Oh, goodness, hold on. Okay. Hi, everybody. Oh, look, we're back over here. It just kicked us right back here. Hi, I hope you all enjoyed When the Night Comes. I did. It was definitely different than Dramatical Murder. Different vibe to it, but still very cute. What are the extras we have here? Any good extras? Got the gallery, mini story. What are mini stories? Possibly, probably a big fucking cat. Okay, maybe we'll do a mini story at some point. Maybe not. Gallery? You? Okay, so I've got one that's still locked, which is unfortunate. But okay. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Leave a like if you liked it. Comment other visual novels you'd like me to play. I really do enjoy doing these. I know I suck at reading sometimes, but it is very fun to read and kind of do this because I don't read at all in real life. I don't read books or anything, so this is the closest thing I got to it. I know as a teacher, that's really weird, isn't it? Man, I forgot how hard this music goes in the intro sequence. Okay, that's pretty much all I got. If you haven't subscribed to me, please subscribe. By now, by the time you see this episode, I've probably hit 500. If not, I'd be a little disappointed. But goal by the end of next year is maybe 1,000. Maybe. I don't know. That's a hard goal to hit. Maybe 800. That'd be nice too. Anywho, that's all I got. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I really need to learn how to look at the camera and not look at me, but look at actual you. Have a wonderful day, you all. Goodbye, and thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it.